I'm not going to laugh at somebody being fired or anything like that. But it's clear that he deserved it. That was one of the worst calls we've ever seen. We understand that. But when you hear the things that have been said about him and you consider his resume, I sincerely hope that, he has a nice pension plan and whatever, because I think this is his last job in the National Football League. He's been in there for 22 years. He was associated with Bountygate, which forced him to ultimately get suspended. Obviously, he didn't have the greatest relationship in Cleveland with Freddie Kitchens and Todd Haley before they were, I'm sorry, not Todd Haley, Todd Haley and Freddie Kitchens, but, ultimately, he took over on an interim basis for Hugh Jackson once Hugh Jackson was let go. And then obviously there were some relationship issues there. He arrives in the New York Jets. He's running the defense. And you got players, numerous players, that were clearly frustrated, including specifically Marcus May out of Florida, 4 years in the National Football League, literally goes into the post-game conference and say, we have to execute, but you got to help us. You got to put us in the right position and calling a cover zero blitz and giving no help on the outside to Lamar Jackson when he's covering Henry Ruggs, and you get no safety help over the top whatsoever. It's just so flagrantly bad, so unnecessary, so inept. That to get fired in the immediate aftermath of that, being 62 years of age, being in the league for 22 years, I think this is probably his last job in the NFL, certainly as a coordinator, because I think it's the combination of the chances he takes, how it's not even questions about his intellect. It's his ego that gets in the way, which gives the impression that he's difficult to deal with. I think all of those things being taken into consideration, I'd be hard pressed to imagine that somebody else is going to hire him as their defensive coordinator when you've got the second worst defense in the National Football League right now, and you just been fired with 4 games left in the season because this is the lasting memory, the indelible mark that you've punctuated your career with. I don't see him getting another job after this.
First, I need to say about Gregg Williams, because Bountygate's always the first thing people talk about. I always thought that was nonsense. If you play a full contact sport, and Stephen A., you follow the fight game, part of the strategy is break them down in the body, through attrition, and then you go upstairs. I mean, like in football, as long as you're not being told to do anything illegal, if you're like, hey, I'll give you a little bonus, like a fun thing you do with a team or a motivational thing. If you knock that guy out within the rules, if you injure him, that's part of football, is creating injury, in fact. That can be part of your strategy when you wear another team down, a bruising running back, a defense, whatever it is. So I always thought the NFL, that's really, which way is the wind blowing? Let's protect our bottom line and show we mean business with this guy, when he didn't actually, as far as I could tell, break the rules. Nevertheless, that's what happened. So I'm going to put Bountygate aside. I thought he did a good job with the Cleveland Browns as an interim coach. So did you. In fact, Stephen A., if I'm not mistaken, you suggested maybe they should hire Gregg Williams. I know. Yeah. Maybe I did. I mean, people were buzzing
I did say that. Yes, I did.
This is what I'll say. If you make a play call and afterwards defenders on your own team are calling you out, your head coach is not backing you up when you're basically you're in charge of the defense. You have autonomy. Your own player calls you out on the defense. Your head coach doesn't back you up. The opposing quarterback thanks you for the play call. Every media member and every fan knows it was an idiotic play call. That's bad enough. What's worse is when you talk about ego, Stephen A., it was as though he was saying, this is the way I do things, come hell or high water. And when the Jets, a winless team, they're going to pick first regardless, right? A winless team have played hard and they're in a position to win. And you put your own, well, this is the way I do things, ahead of putting them in the best position to win. That's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Stephen A., when you think about play calls, it's funny. We argued earlier in the show, what was the dumbest play of the year? You argued Falcons. I argued Gregg Williams. But what was the upshot in both cases? Dan Quinn essentially was fired, maybe not exactly directly as a result of that, but maybe. And now Gregg Williams is fired. This was so bad, you have to get rid of the guy.
Hey, listen, like I said, I don't ignore Bountygate, because even though we could absolve the players, the bottom line is the NFL found him guilty. They weren't trying to pay players for performance. They were trying to pay players to actually injure other players, getting carted off the field and things of that nature. But again, I'm not going to revisit that. That's just the NFL's position. We understand that. But in the end, 22 years in the NFL, and this is how it ends. I'm hard pressed to see him getting another job at least as a coordinator. I'm hard pressed for that.
Yeah. We'll leave it on the note. We'll have much more with this. Ryan Clark is going to join us. We'll certainly get his reaction to this news as well. And a few other things. That his 25th career game with 300 passing yards and a win against Denver, second most through a player's first 4 seasons in NFL history. Stephen, a tough question here. Is Aaron Rodgers more valuable to the Packers than Patrick Mahomes is to the Chiefs?
I believe so. Because I believe without Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers wouldn't be much. The man is sensational. He's completed 69% of his passes, 36 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Just in case, and I don't say that for you, for your edification, Max Kellerman. I say that for the Green Bay Packers. I just want to know, as an organization, how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel that we just learned the other day that when Aaron Rodgers threw to Tavon Austin, it was the first time he had thrown 2 passes. It was the first time he had thrown to a first-round draft pick at the wide receiver spot in his career. I just want to know how that feels. Think about that. Let's put that in its proper perspective. Aaron Rodgers, arguably the greatest quarterback from a talent perspective, arguably the greatest quarterback we have ever seen in NFL history this side of Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers, just the other week, threw a couple of passes to Tavon Austin. Tom Brady's got over 600 passes or something in his career. I think it's over 800 to a first round wide receiver, along with a bevy of others, Drew Brees and others, Matt Ryan too. Aaron Rodgers, just the other day, after all of these years in the league, been in the league since 2005, Aaron Rodgers just the other day threw a pass to a first-round wide receiver. That is just disgraceful. You're the Green Bay Packers, and you want to draft his successor. So Aaron Rodgers has put it on the show this year, reminded us all how sensational, how much of a bad man he is. He is reminding us, he is putting it on display. And even though Aaron Jones can run the football and Devontae Adams is a stud, guess what? They ain't Tyreek Hill. They ain't Travis Kelce. And a combination of Hill, Kelsey, McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins and those boys. Oh, with Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. Oh, no, it's a different animal. Aaron Rodgers is working with considerably less. No disrespect to those brothers, Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, because they could play. But I'm just saying, it's with considerably less than the Kansas City Chiefs have at their arsenal. Without Aaron Rodgers, the only thing we'd be talking about in Wisconsin, other than the Greek Freak, is cheese. Nothing else. Aaron Rodgers, more valuable than Mahomes to his particular team. Yes.
Well, I mean, look, these are the 2 best guys I've ever seen. I think if I have to choose between them, I think the edge goes to Mahomes. I'm not saying it's not close. Aaron Rodgers can do just like, if you want to say, what can Mahomes do that Aaron Rodgers can't do? Aaron Rodgers can do all the stuff Mahomes can do. Mahomes looks a little bit stronger than Rodgers physically. Maybe can... running they can both move, but just Mahomes looks a little stronger. And Mahomes has more of that rah-rah gunslinger stuff that teams seem to respond to. With Rodgers, is there tension between this guy and Rodgers? What about Favre and Rodgers, right, coming in? You don't hear that with Mahomes. With Mahomes, you hear his teammates love him. And that may be the difference. These types of arguments, who's more valuable to their team, usually boil down to who has the worst team. So you pick the guy whose teammates aren't as good as the other guys and say, aha, since his teammates aren't as good, he's more valuable to his team. You can make that argument, but I prefer this one. When you have a great team around you, what quarterback gives you the premium over everyone else? Not only making all the plays and messing up less than anyone else, not turning the ball over. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes' touchdown to interception ratio for his career, let alone this year. But making all the special plays, right? Who can do that when it matters most? Rodgers been in the league a long time, been on some great teams, has 1 Super Bowl win for it, which is great. And his team has let him down, his franchise has let him down in terms of surrounding him with the best talent. Mahomes came into the league. It's not his fault he had great teammates. But Stephen A., 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, MVP, lost in the AFC Championship game because they took the win away and wouldn't let him touch the ball again. So he comes back the next year and wins Super Bowl MVP, improves his touchdown interception ratio, does it again this year, improves touchdown interception ratio again, hasn't gotten to the playoffs yet.